My name is Kayleigh Rice and I work under Alyssa King in the case department. And as my other job, I actually do hair. I'm a hairstylist. So I'm going to show you, if you're desperate and you need to cut your kid's hair, your husband's hair, or anything like that, I'm going to show you how to do a simple haircut so that they look presentable and not shaggy. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do it with clippers. Simply because Stark's hair is so short already that me showing you with shears would not really be that beneficial. I will show you with my daughter's hair how to trim her bangs and also how to give her just a quick trim. You need clippers and you need guards, and the guards that I'll be using with his are a 3, a 2, and a 1. A 1 is going to take off the most amount of hair, and a 3 is going to take off the least amount of hair on his hair. The higher the number, the less amount of hair that it is going to take off. So I'm going to start with a 3, and I'm going to simply, this lever right here on your clippers needs to be pushed all the way forward to the face of the clipper. And I'm simply going to take my number 3, and I'm going to start at the top and snap it on. And the way that I fade is I fade down. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your highest clipper, which on him I'm using a 3. And I'm just going to go right here in the crown where the head starts to turn towards the top of the head. You're simply going to go around in kind of a little bit of a U shape. And when you use your clipper, you're going to hold it like this, but you're also going to take it. You're not going to dig into the hair. You're going to take it and you're going to feather out. Because if you do dig into the hair, you are going to go up and you're going to create this nasty little harsh line that you're going to have to buffer out later. So you're going to feather up and out like that. And that will make sure that you get a nice natural progression in the length of the hair. Now Stark's haircut is a disconnected haircut. So he gets a hard part here in the side. As you can see, this hair is so much longer and this hair is very short. So what we're going to do is just get that really long hair that's on top out of the way. If you need to put your hand down here to hold that hair out of the way, that's perfectly fine as well. And again, you're going to feather out and up so that you don't create a nasty little harsh line. So now that that took a little bit of that off, I'm going to switch my guard. I'm going to take my guard off by pushing this and simply pulling it off. And I'm going to take my 2 on the top and snap it on. Now we went around this way where the crown started to turn. So what we're going to do is go about an inch down, and we're going to take the 2 and blend that in with the area that you did the 3. You don't want to take it all the way up here because you just did a 3 up there, and then that'll make that work totally useless. Make sure to either fold the ear down or hold it back so you don't snag it in the process. Okay, now that we did a 2, we're going to take our 1 and we are going to snap it on. Now this is where we're going to take the lever and we're going to push it all the way back, because what that'll do is that creates a half guard inside the clipper. So we're going to go all the way down to the nape of the neck and go up to where you had that 2. And you might have to go over the same area a couple of times, especially if the hair is really coarse or it grows in different directions. If you're working with African American hair, sometimes you will have to fade down instead of feathering up. So any spots that you think might look a little bit bulky, you're just going to take and feather a little bit to get that weight out of there. And you're going to go around the sides of the hair too, but you're not going to go up very far. So you're going to fold that ear down and you're just going to kind of go around the ear, feather out just a little bit above the ear. Fold it back. So I'm going to go around this side of the head here and do the exact same thing that I did on the other side, where I fold the ear down, go around, just get those hairs off, feather out a little bit. Again, you shouldn't really have to go up very high. around the ear because you've already done a 3 and a 2 if it's the same length as Stark's. If you're cutting the top and you want to blend that in with the sides. Again, Stark has a very disconnected haircut, so we're not going to do anything to this side. What we are going to do is we're going to blend this side in with the sides because that's what is necessary for this one. So just wet the top of the hair. Grab your comb and your shears. Comb it all the way that you want to blend that side. But you also want to make sure that it is laying in a natural position. So if you comb this all back and this isn't supposed to be laying here, you definitely want to make sure that's going in the direction that it normally does, because if you cut it in an unnatural direction, it's not going to look right once it's dry and cut. So Stark has a couple of cowlicks back here, so we're going to make sure they're laying in their natural spot. So once I have it nice and combed out where it needs to be, we're going to start in front here, which typically I would start in the back, but just so you can see it a little bit better right now, we are going to part this front section. The part that we are not cutting right now, we're just going to simply comb that a little bit out of the way. So we're going to take it and we're going to hold it at an angle. Now you want to pick up some of that hair from the side that you had and that is already cut. That is going to be your guide. Now Stark likes his hair longer on top, much longer on top than he does on the sides. So we're only going to blend his a little bit. So I'm going to over exaggerate and simply. Now I don't know if you can see this, but if you see, that's a lot more connected than it was just a second ago. So then we're going to take another small section. Your section should not be big, only about maybe 1/2 inch. So you're going to take another small section directly next to the one you just cut. You're going to split those two sections in half. And this way you have a nice guide that you can refer to for when you need to cut it. So this one is already there, so we're going to take a little bit. You're just going to simply blend it in with the sides that you already cut, so it's not a huge chunk. As you can see right here, this is the side that was cut, is much shorter. Again, we're going to over exaggerate and blend that in. Now this is already cut, and as you can see, that's much, much, much more blended than this chunkier part is. So we're going to keep on going all the way to the back. Pretty big disconnect from here to there, so we're just going to take off a little bit to blend that and give it a more natural look. Keep following that guide from the place that you cut before. Pretty disconnected right there, so we're going to take those ends off. Very disconnected right here, so we're going to pull that over. Take those itty bitty ends off. Same thing back here. If they have bad cowlicks back here, the longer you leave them the better, unless you want to chop them off. So Stark's hair is still pretty long on the top, but as you can see right here on the sides, it's much more blended than what it was when we just clippered it and didn't cut it. If it still looks too chunky to you, if you have hair cutting shears, a lot of the time a clipper set will come with also what's called texturizing or thinning shears. If it looks too bulky right here for you, what you can do, stay still for me, baby. What you can do is you can take your comb and simply take a chunk out. This just eases that weight line right here. If they have really straight hair, you can also do that just to give it a little bit of movement. Stark has pretty wavy hair, so he doesn't really need any texture or movement, but he does sometimes get a weight line or a bulk line right in here. So now, as you can see when I did that, it took away that little shadow that we had there. I'm going to do a little bit in his cowlick here. And these are ones that you have to move quickly when it's chop chop. You don't want to hold it, you don't want to pull it, nothing like that. It's chop chop out. Now I will show you how to finish it by edging them out. And this is probably the most important part, because this is probably what's driving all of you parents crazy with your kids' hair, is that it looks shaggy down here at the neckline. So you're simply going to take your comb, make sure you get all that excess hair out of the way. Start right here. You definitely need steady hands for this part. Stark's got a hairy neck like a monkey, so I'm going to go all the way down. Depending on whether or not they normally get a square neckline, a round neckline, or get it faded out, that's depending on, probably doesn't matter at this point, but I am going to give Stark a round neckline, which means I'm going to take that little edge off there. When you go around the ears, just make sure that you fold the ear down so that it doesn't get nicked by anything. When you go around the front of the ear, hold the ear back and just take the itty bitty edge of the edger or the clipper and go around to complete that circle. I'm going to even out his sideburns a little bit by just going down. I'm going to go around the other side. Making sure you're staying with your guide that you've created in the back there. I'll take that little corner off there to give him a nice round neckline. Again, we're to the front of the ear, so pull that ear back and kind of feather it back to connect that circle there. Trim the sideburns. Okay, as you can see, he's got a nice fresh haircut.
Hi, Vikes!
Hi, Vikes! My name is Kayleigh Rice, and I am one of the case leads under Alyssa King in the case program. And one of my other jobs is actually, I do hair. I'm a hairstylist, so I am going to show you a couple easy techniques on how to just give your kid a quick trim all the way around. We're not going to dive into layers or anything like that. Just a quick blunt trim all the way around, and also a bang trim. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, definitely hold off, and if you can hold off, hold off. But if you're desperate and you need to do something to your kid's hair, then these will be easy techniques to get it to look a little bit more presentable. So here we go. This is Penelope. Penelope, can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. I'm going to adjust this camera really quick. Okay. Now we're actually going to do it where the hair is still dry, because if we wet the hair, which we typically would do, it can spring up. So we're not going to do that, because obviously longer hair or wet hair looks longer, and it can also make for trouble when you're trimming the bangs if they're wet. They need to be dry for this. Normally we would do it wet, but so Penelope's hair is not that long, but we are just going to do a simple blunt trim around. So we're going to get this nice section right here in front of the ear, part it off. You can just, if the hair is longer, you can move that hair out of the way. Otherwise, you can definitely clip it. This is how much hair I'm just going to trim off Penelope's. It's not too much, maybe a quarter to a half of an inch. So we're going to go around, make sure that you look straight for me, honey, with your head up. Thank you so much. So we're going to take that, and we are simply going to blunt cut that across. See, that's a nice smooth line. I got all those dead ends off. Keep looking that way, baby. So Penelope has a little bit of a sling bob. So it's a little bit of a gradual decrease in length to the back. That gives her hair a little bit more movement because her hair is so fine. So if you see this right here, and it's kind of hard to tell, there's my guide right there. This is a little bit longer, so we're going to trim that off because we want to stick with our guide that we had before. So making sure you're grabbing some of the hair that you cut before so you can stay with that nice straight line. So I'm not going to do the back of Penelope's because her back is a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go over to the other side here. So part that hair right there at the ear and take it back. Ow, sorry. Look that way for me. Thank you. So I'm going to take up, like I said, between a half inch, a quarter to a half inch. Same amount of hair on the other side. Blunt cut that between your fingers. You're going to take some of the hair that you cut previously in that guide, just to give you a nice even guide all the way around. Now I'm going to show you how to trim her bangs. So again, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, just wait. Look at me. Make sure it's sitting really super still. Depending on the type of bangs that somebody has is how you will trim them. Penelope just has standard bangs. She doesn't have super thick bangs. She doesn't have really thin bangs. Typical normal bang. So as you can see, I took this little V right here in the front of Penelope's hair. Her bangs do go a little bit further back because her hair is so fine and thin. So we have that nice little V right there that I parted out. It's only the center of her bangs. We don't have all of the bangs here. We are going to take it, just that V. Now remember that these spring up, so we are not going to take off as much as we think we need to. So we're only going to take off an itty bitty amount. And it's still going to look like it's in Penelope's eyes. But once it's actually sitting where it normally sits, it's actually out of her eyes. So it's better to be conservative with how much you it's better to be conservative with how much you cut than think that you're cutting the right amount and cut too much. So definitely take, if you need to cut more, you can, but you can't put any more back on. So once we cut that main V right there that kind of goes out a little bit, we're going to see where her bangs end. Her bangs taper down right here. So I'm going to part that off where her bangs taper down. And I'm going to get that hair out of the way. If I needed to use a clip, I have clips. Her hair's pretty easy to manipulate, so we don't need to use clips for hers. I'm going to part that off on the other side of her bangs and get that hair out of the way. So now that her hair is completely parted right there with just her bangs in front and the rest behind her ears. You've already cut this center bang right here, and I'm not going to cut hers up any higher. Some people might like them a little bit shorter, and you can do that, but again, just make sure that you're being conservative with how you cut them because you can't put any more back on. So what I'm going to do is, because hers taper down, I'm also going to hold my hands at an angle like this. See how my fingers are diagonal right here, because that's the way her bangs go. And when you do bangs like this, you are going to cut up, avoiding the eyes, obviously. You don't want to cut down because it's easier to take chunks out of the bangs doing that. So we're going to go to the other side. So again, that's at an angle. My fingers are at a diagonal, and I'm going to cut up. So a lot of the time, when you get a simple hair cutting kit, or if you have clippers, they do come with texturizing shears or thinning shears. If you haven't used these before, I wouldn't recommend you use them, but they are a really easy tool, especially with people with really, really straight hair. So she has really straight hair. So what I do with her bangs is I pick them up in a big chunk like this. You do not want to go into the hair like that at all, no. So you want to hold it. See these ends? I'm going to pull up all the way to the ends. Chop, chop out. A little bit more of the side bang there. Chop, chop out. Apparently that's funny. And then the other side, where we're just going to texture the ends a little. Chop, chop out. So you don't want to hold them. You don't want to hold them like that. You don't want to hold and then pull. That will pull the hair. So it's just chop, chop, and then release your scissors. That'll just texture those bangs a little bit so they don't look so blunt and stuck to the head. They'll give them a nice, more natural flowing movement. So can you look at the camera and say, thank you?